All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Brett Twitty, a member of the admissions committee here at the University of Virginia Darden School of Business. Pleased to be joined by some of our current students here. You have successfully found your way to the Love is Love Week webinar with Pride at Darden. These folks here are members of Pride at Darden. So they'll be sharing a little bit more about what Love is Love Week is all about here, and also telling a little bit more about their story and their MBA journey. So let's get started. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, folks. My name is Evan. I'm a first-year student here at Darden. I'm one of the Reaching Out MBA Fellows as part of our Darden class. I'm actually originally from Houston, Texas, and I was excited to talk to you all today about what Love is Love Week is.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm also a first year, also a Ramba Fellow with Evan. Originally from Delaware and was in DC for 11 years. Happy to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Alfonso Orozco. I'm a second year here at Darden. I am the VP of Careers for PAD. I am originally from Hawaii, but I was in New York City before Darden.
All right, so what is Love Week?
Sure, so Love is Love Week has been at Darden for numerous years, and the idea here is organized by PAD, and what we try to do is create a week of numerous events when we include the whole community of Darden and really just talk about how love is for everyone, right? And it doesn't matter who you love, and it's a great week when we really get to be ourselves and really be part of the whole community.
What kind of programming do you typically have?
Sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's a really fun event in terms of things that we do. So we have a movie. We also have numerous speakers really want to talk about what love is, depending on different individuals. And really the most exciting event of the whole week, I would say that we have a drag show at the end of the week where it really just culminates and really makes it a really fun event for everyone at Darden. Last year, and from what I've heard, every single year that event sells out. So it's really exciting to see so many people at Darden that want to be part of that event.
So for our first year students, are you looking forward to it?
Yes, excited about the drag show. Even nominated some of my fellow section E'ers.
I'm very excited. I mean, this will be, of course, the first time I'm going through this. Like when you think about my own undergraduate institution, we didn't have anything like that. So I think it's really great to bring together so many different people with different backgrounds to really talk about the idea of the fact that love really doesn't have any boundaries, and really just have an open dialogue about what that means here at Darden and how that impacts the student body. So I think I'm actually very excited to go through this for the first time and see what it's all about.
So for those of you who are joined us here on the webinar, feel free to type any questions you have. I'm going to start asking some of our students questions about their experience here at Darden, but if you have questions, things that are on your mind, feel free to type in the chat box and we'll answer them as we can. So why was it important to you to be involved with Pride at Darden?
Sure. So I think one, I am a member of the LGBT community, and so I felt that I really wanted to be part of and really make Darden better because of that. And it really all started last year when I got to see some of my fellow second years and really felt that they provided impact to both my community and really for everyone at Darden. And so after that, I really felt that I wanted to get involved one way or another. I chose the VP of Careers because I felt that it would be a good way for me to help first years navigate the recruiting process.
How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, so actually, I was really on the fence when I was looking at business school, whether or not to disclose my sexual orientation, because business and personal life had always been fairly separate. But in the last couple of years, at the organization I worked at last, President and CEO actually worked 25 years in AIDS and HIV, and the culture in the whole organization completely changed. I mean, for one, he was incredibly outgoing and befriended everyone, but I think that also lended more confidence in my fellow employees, and it just was tremendous. And so after his guidance and mentorship, it became very clear to me that to be a leader, you have to be an authentic leader and be true to yourself. And so I dove in on Pride and being part of the women's group here and a variety of others. So it's definitely important, and it was a huge learning experience for me.
How about you, Evan?
Yeah, I think building off of that, I think just having a community of individuals that I self-identify as LGBTQ, was incredibly important to me in the business school search. And of course, different schools go to varying degrees. I think in providing a very supportive environment, I think Darden goes above and beyond in doing that. But also, from the moment that I got here, I knew that I had a community of people that I could always go to with any issues or any problems that I might be facing that might be LGBTQ related, whether that is my peers, whether it is other staff members here at the school, or even other professors. They've always been super open. And so I've wanted to take more time to actually get involved with Pride at Darden actually over time. One of my favorite experiences has been going to the Reaching Out MBA conference this past, was it September, October, November, sometime in the fall, which was in Minneapolis. And that was so much fun to go with Rachel and Alfonso and so many other students here to really be able to meet other students from other business schools and see that there is a broader business-oriented LGBTQ network that you can access outside of Darden. But here at Darden, Pat is a really great community, and even with the allies that are here, it makes it such a fantastic experience that's incredibly supportive.
You'll have to forgive Evan if the days seem to be running together. It's a very busy time for our first year students right now. Internship interviews going on, depending on where you are in that process, can be really heavy time. And of course, the first year at Darden is challenging too. So did you all go to the Ramba conference?
We did, yes.
Yeah. So that was in Minneapolis this past year?
It was.
Yeah. How was that? Some of our folks online may not know as much about Ramba. Do you want to share a little bit more about that organization?
Sure. So I'll go. I'll give a quick overview. So this year, actually last year, right? It was October or November was the second time that I attended that event, and it's a really great event where basically it's meant for MBA students. So MBA students for top business schools go to that event, and you get to meet a lot of different individuals from different companies, and you also have the opportunity to interview for numerous internships and jobs as well. So that it's a really great experience. But what I would say that what is the most exciting about attending Ramba is the fact that you're able to see a community across the United States and really the world that is really there to support you. And it's really great to see that it's not just necessarily Darden, but there's a community in the world that would basically help you. And so that's very exciting.
What did y'all enjoy about it?
Yeah, I mean, I loved exactly what Alfonso said. Just the time to be able to bond and be closer to my other classmates across first and second year too as well. And obviously being able to see a new city, but even from a career standpoint, I actually found my internship from a Ramba company that was there. So it is fantastic for recruiting and networking too as well. It really, I think out of all the different conferences that you can attend as an MBA student, it is one of the best organized ones. And you get to meet all sorts of different leaders across the industry. Rachel and I actually got to meet, did you meet George Takei? I think you did.
I creeped.
You get to meet him. So yeah, Ramba also has a speaker, and George Takei was actually the speaker this year. And
Star Trek?
From Star Trek, yes.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it was great, and I got a chance to meet him too and take a photo with them. So yeah, you missed out.
I was more on the Star Wars, Star Trek.
I see.
No, but final thought, I thought it was amazing just to solidify my friendship, especially with fellow members of PAD. I think it's the first time we really got to chat. And I remember the first years definitely went out to, dinner together and went out to social events. And so it was just an all around incredibly fun time. That's why I went. Recruiting second.
So the career component of that, I mean, as Evan noted, Pride plays a big role in helping students get ready for Ramba, if I understand correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the benefit, I think that when I think about basically in order to attend Ramba, you have to have a code. And so we, part of PAD ensures that we identify who will be able to attend the event. And in addition to that, we work with the students to prepare them and ensure that they are ready for not only interviews, but also just thinking about your pitch when you talk to different companies, etc. So it's a really great event to ensure that you feel that you are ready to attend the event.
That's great. So curious about if you all knew that you wanted to get an MBA, like if this was part of a plan for a long time or something that you came to, relatively close to the time of matriculation. So how about you, Rachel? Did you know that you wanted to pursue an MBA for a while, or is it a relatively recent idea?
I did. I was a non-traditional background, worked in the social sector, and was also a political science major. But I definitely always wanted to develop my business acumen, so I knew. So I actually took a year to kind of find which school was the right fit for me. I don't know if either of you didn't know.
Sure. So I think just thinking right out of undergrad, I thought that potentially going to business school or going to law school made the most sense, and it took me a few years to figure it out. Eventually, I really fell in love with how solving problems, and I think that I felt that the MBA made the most sense.
Yeah. It was a process that took a long time for me to figure out, and just like Alfonso too as well. I was actually going back and forth between law school and business school. Decided that I discovered that I was much more of a business-oriented person. I actually do have a non-traditional background, majored in East Asian studies and undergrad, some liberal arts, worked in HR for a couple of years and then in operations, and really discovered that I wanted to beef up my business acumen and really hopefully become just a better business leader as a whole. And the only way to do that was actually to return to school and be in a structured environment that would actually be very challenging. And I know that Darden provides that so much so. And after about 6 years, was able to identify that this was the place that I wanted to be.
So I'm always interested in hearing about how Darden ended up on folks' radar. So how did you learn about Darden, or ultimately what resonated with you about the Darden experience?
Yeah, so how I learned is I actually know the current president of Pride at Darden. He and I actually have known each other since we were juniors in high school. And I was working in Washington, D.C. about a year ago and had just started a new role. And we were just casually talking around December, and he was saying, hey, you've been working for a long time. You should really consider getting an MBA. I know you've been looking at that for a bit, but definitely consider Darden. And he'd said so many positive things about it. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to submit an application and just apply it. And the rest is history. And that's why I'm here right now.
Rachel?
Yeah, so my experience was different. I grew up on a 25-acre farm. My parents harnessed racehorses, and then moved to DC for undergrad, and I had stayed there unintentionally for 10 years. So in starting my exploration, I was committed. I don't want anything in DC, Virginia, Maryland, like get out of mid-Atlantic. And I was also committed to urban. I thought, don't ever push me back, like out of the city, like I won't go back. But I ended up striking up a conversation with Catherine from admissions, and she was telling me all about the case method, and she was also telling me about their new initiative to get diversity, and we're really looking for women, which resonated with me and other diverse candidates. And so I thought, fine, I keep seeing you, Catherine, at all these events. I'll go check out Darden. So I went, and it was like a first date. I just was like head over heels over the case method. I really I'm a tactile learner, and so being able to interact with my peers and talk about the cases and really just resonated with me, and the professors were really great and outgoing. And as a career switcher, I knew I wanted both a network and then a rigorous academic curriculum. And so the stars aligned, and I came, and Darden ended up being my first choice, which my partner in DC was really happy about, because I was trying to get away. I was trying to go, away. I was like, no, we'll do distance. So Darden really called to me. So I'm a big fan.
It's quite a arc.
I know.
I
really.
How about you, Alfonso?
Sure. So it's actually very similar, right? When I really decided to go back to school, and specifically business school, I knew that I wanted to go back and I wanted to learn. So I wanted that rigorous environment, and felt that there was no better place than Darden to do that. In addition to that, I wanted a very strong network, and I know that basically very similar, right? The rigorousness of the curriculum and the network, and so because of that, I felt that Darden was the perfect place.
So let's start with our first year students here. How are things going? I know this is, as I mentioned, a busy time of year for you, and obviously deeply appreciative of your taking time out of your day to be on the webinar. But I'm curious about how things are going, how the experience has been so far.
Ah,
You want to start?
yeah, so it's a whirlwind, to be sure. I forget half those things until Evan or somebody else says, "You remember when we were in orientation?" I was like, "Oh gosh, that felt like 5 years ago." But I love it. I love our section. So you get divided into 5 sections. Pray you get section E because we're by far the best section.
Wait, what's your color?
Yellow.
Yellow? Do you have a mascot or anything?
A banana. We've kind of evolved that. Inside jokes and vultures have creeped up. So no, we just our section is just incredibly close. I can't say it enough. I know that every one of them have my back, and I've definitely forged friendships, and that was incredibly important to me. I've also learned a ton, and it's amazing when you look back and realize what you've learned. You are convinced you did not understand something, then you get to the exam and you're like, oh wait, I think I do this, and then you like do well on the exam and you're like, oh, I didn't know. So it's just a sense of confidence, especially in ambiguous situations, and I've grown tremendously in not being a perfectionist and just embracing, what comes next.
Yeah, to build off of what Rachel just said, first year is a blur. I'm sure that Alfonso will agree with that too as well. We're in the third quarter right now, finishing up our core requirements of classes before we start electives. A key integral part to my first year experience has definitely been my learning team. I have loved working with 5 other people that come from super different backgrounds and really help me understand the topics that I have no idea or have not had any exposure to in the past, finance and accounting being one of those. But those are some of the people that I'm closest with too as well. So I think the learning team experience is really integral to the first year experience at Darden, especially helping you navigate the case method, but also socially too as well. We spend time outside of class, going to dinners, and I'll sometimes host people over at my apartment, or we're doing cases on Sunday evenings and have cookies just to get away from campus a little bit. So it does help shape your first year experience to have that very close-knit network besides your section 2 as well, which I do hope people get section 2.
How is Section E doing in the Darden Cup?
Well, we won basketball.
We got second place in basketball.
No, I guess when you include co-ed, I
Yeah,
played all my life.
We're one of the smartest
We
sections.
thrive in other
Who won
areas.
trivia?
Trivia, I think.
It was section A. I did it last year, so that's to brag.
Today we had an operation simulation, and the top 6 were section E.
Top 7 of 8 teams were all section.
Okay.
Last year was A.
Strong.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Strong.
Crushed it.
So on that note, Alfonso, you're in your second year. You're just a few months away from graduation. You look back on your experience here at Darden. What have been some of the highlights? What really stands out
Oh
for you?
God, so it's almost surreal to really think that Darden is going to end so soon. I remember when I decided to go back to business school, it was like 2 years. That's a very long time. I'm not sure if I really want to commit, but it really goes by so quickly. And just really thinking back, I think that you build bonds here at Darden that I feel that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And even just when I think about some of the alumni that I connected through numerous phone calls, etc., there's always that, remember Darden, remember going to class, the learning team, etc. So I feel that there's definitely something that I will take with me and really hopefully be able to connect and help others, 5, 10, or 15 years down the line.
All right, so I've got just maybe 1 or 2 more questions here for our panelists. If you have questions, feel free again to type them in the chat box. No problem if you just want to listen. What would be your advice? Now you're on the other side of the application process. You've been here for a while, and some of you are close to graduation. What would be your advice for prospective students, who are looking at Darden, evaluating their options, thinking about taking that next step on their MBA journey?
You want me to start?
Yes.
So that's a really great question, Brett. I think that this is a challenging process for prospective students due to many different reasons, whether it is trying to get your story together for why you want to go to pursue an MBA, whether it's the testing process, interviewing. There's so many different components that go into producing a successful MBA application. People actually don't know. It took me 3 cycles actually to get into business school, and I would be some people that just applied the first time around, they got in. Some people that applied 2 cycles around and got in. It took me 3 cycles. So there is, I think, a process of resilience that people do develop, and it is absolutely okay if you don't get into the program of your choice. Try again, because sooner or later you will land, and you will be in a place that you're supposed to be. And that's something I think that's hard for people to realize when they're going through the process. It's very stressful, but it has no reflection on your level of intellect. You will find the place that you're supposed to be. It took me 3 cycles to finally land at Darden, and I'm super happy being here and love the people that I'm with. So definitely persevere through it. Be confident in yourself and what you can offer, and you're going to be in the environment that you're supposed to be in.
That's such great advice. We always stress with candidates, one, we love reapplicants, right? So candidates who've gone through the process, obviously may not receive the outcome that they were hoping for, but nevertheless have feedback about how they might be able to strengthen their candidacy. So if you happen to find yourself in that kind of position, understand that, obviously we greatly value students who have interests in Darden across multiple cycles. And we are an admissions committee that really likes getting to know people through the process. Many different ways for you to connect with us, schedule a conversation, come to an event. We have a showcase coming up if you want to come to Charlottesville and experience all that Charlottesville has to offer. Saturday, February 23rd will be your next opportunity to do that. So lots of ways to get to know us. Obviously, we want to get to know you. So Rachel, how about you? Advice for prospective students out there?
Well, Evan's point on resilience, it's definitely learn that lesson early, because once you get into a competitive school, you'll meet tons of great people and diverse backgrounds, and sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some, so it's definitely a lesson to be learned. And then to echo what you were mentioning, I definitely recommend just develop relationships with students that show up to these events, with admissions that show up to these events. They're there because they're genuinely enthusiastic about talking to you, and use them as resources. I know a second year when I was applying, she met and had coffee with me. We were on a texting basis. I'd ask her all kinds of questions, and I just think that it helped me figure out what place was the best place for me. And also, I think, frankly, it helped me through application time. When I came onto campus, I felt totally comfortable seeing people and picking up where conversations left off. And that's definitely applicable to any other kind of networking for a job and so forth. So it's something I would definitely recommend.
Alfonso, any advice?
Sure. Any additional advice I would say, I guess get to know Darden or other schools very well. So, right, when I think about if you're for sure thinking of going to business school, then start looking at the schools that makes the most sense for you. And after that, develop those connections, the way that Rachel said. And that way you get to really know whether or not Darden is the right place for you.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting to me as I talk to more students about how they chose Darden was the extent to which students valued cultural fit the more they went through the process.
Mm-hmm.
Right, initially that might not have been their first thought, but the deeper they got into it, the closer they were to making an actual decision. The more important culture seemed to be to them, at least personally. Does that resonate with your own journey or experience? Does that sound familiar? I'm curious.
Yeah, I initially thought that was, knowing myself, I tend to thrive in a lot of different environments, and so I thought, whatever, I'm going to go, to best school. But at the end of the day, you have 5 or 10 rankings. They all fluctuate. You have schools that are known for certain areas, but you can still achieve opportunities elsewhere. So I think just understanding yourself and understanding schools' primary offerings, and there's definitely a connection between those two that will make you successful. And so, like I said, I had completely different thoughts initially, and then going through the process, I realized what I wanted and what would make me successful was Darden.
Yeah. Evan, do you have any experience with that? Or
Yes, I think that, for example, I thought about location just like Rachel talked about. I went to undergrad in a predominantly pretty urban environment. I've lived in urban environments for the most part, and I actually wanted something that was not urban, that actually felt like a college campus to me. And of course, UVA does offer that experience. Beautiful area, very affordable to live into as well, relative to other places. And also wanted to be in a smaller environment where I could actually get to know the faces of all of my classmates. I know that different programs have different sizes, but that was something that I really considered and was important to me, because I know that that can impact the culture and the way that you interact with people and the chance that you have to become close to certain people. So definitely keeping that in mind when you're looking at different MBA programs, and try and find the one that is the best fit for you and for what you need socially too as well. I think that's really important to consider.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna give everybody online a chance to ask any questions they might have. Sort of give you a minute or two if you were just catching up on things. I'll ask our panelists one last question. For folks who were thinking about coming to Charlottesville, what's one thing that you would suggest that they do while they're here? I realize this was not on the list of questions that I shared with our panelists in advance. It's a bit of a spur of the moment question, but
Yeah.
any advice, suggestion?
Yeah, so when I came down to find, I was accepted and I wanted to look for apartments. My partner and I went to Blue Mountain Brewery, which is a little bit outside Charlottesville and is right by the hiking trails and Blue Ridge Mountain. And so we went on a hike and kind of made a night out of it. We packed our tent and went camping. And so for if you're like me and you love outdoors, definitely take advantage. Charlottesville is stunning, and there's tons to do. And so that was a great experience. I still remember it, even though it felt like 10 years ago. So it was great.
Alfonso?
Oh God, so many things, right? When I think about things that I enjoy, that I like actually visiting colleges. So walking through UVA, I think it's a great just experience. So that's one thing. Also, go to the downtown mall. I was in New York City before. I still like seeing a lot of restaurants and a lot of bars, and there's so much there. A few other things, there are a lot of breweries and a lot of wineries within the area, and those are also great things to do. And so if you could do all of that, I think you will have a great time.
Yeah, the main grounds
Yeah.
of the university is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of three here in the United States. The other two, Independence Hall in Philadelphia and Statue of Liberty. Not bad company.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right, Evan, what's your Charlottesville recommendation?
You know, it took me a while to find this, but I really love the Monticello Trail that's located here in Charlottesville. It's a great running and walking area. It's very serene and peaceful. So if you do like being outdoors, that's just a great place to be able to escape to, get off grounds, and really just enjoy nature any time of the year for the most part when it's not freezing outside. So definitely would highly recommend that as a good hiking trail.
It's 70 today.
Yeah, you may not be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may not be able to tell it on the webinar. We're enjoying unseasonably warm temperatures here in Charlottesville, about 70 degrees. So ideal for your hikers and runners. It's a place where you can easily be active and fit. I think when we were working on the fitness post for the Admitted Student blog, it was like 1,000 words long because there are so many things you can do. So if you're curious, you can absolutely have a quality of life here. So a big thank you to all of our panelists for taking time out of their schedules to be here. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll have some updates about Love is Love Week next week on the Discover Darden blog. As I mentioned, lots of great ways for you to continue to learn about Darden. We have a number of webinars upcoming in the next few weeks. We've got a webinar with our Graduate Women in Business Club, the Black Business Students Association, a bunch of app tips webinars. So keep an eye out for those. And for those of you who are interested in coming to Charlottesville, taking these folks up on some of their tips, keep an eye out for our showcase on the 23rd. That's on a Saturday. So spend the day with us here in Charlottesville. So we look forward to getting to know you. Thank you so much for taking the time.